ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां
ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां
शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम्
शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम्
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम्
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम्
वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्।
वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्।
ओम भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः।
ओम भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः।
भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः।
भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः।
स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः
स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः
व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः।
क्षेम देवहितं यदायुः।
स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः।
स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः।
स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः।
स्वस्ति पूषा विश्ववेदाः।
स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः।
स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः।
स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु।
स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु।
शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः।
ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः।
पुरुष ये वेदं विश्वम्।
पुरुष ये वेदं विश्वम्।
कर्म तपो ब्रह्म परामृतम्।
कर्म तपो ब्रह्म परामृतम्।
एतद्यो वेद निहितं गुहायाम्।
एतद्यो वेद निहितं गुहायाम्।
सः अविद्या ग्रन्थिं विकरतीह सौम्य।
ग्रन्थिं विकिरतीह सौम्यम्।
So this is the last verse in the first section of the Dvitiya Mundaka, the second Mundaka, Prathama Khanda. Now in this whole section, if you see what the Shruti was revealing, what was it revealing? It was revealing that whatever is there here is nothing but this Aksharam Brahma. So all the things have come from this Aksharam Brahma only. And so Etasmat Jayate and all that we saw, correct, in different places, it kept on saying that. Even see Sapta Pranaha Prabhavanti Tasmat. So in this particular verse, it is saying all the Indriyas and even the knowing awareness also is this Brahman alone. From this Brahman only everything has come. And not only that, Aksharam Brahma means it is in neuter gender. So suddenly, in between what the Shruti did, it introduced the word Purushaha. Purushaha is masculine. So sometimes in neuter gender means it becomes something like a third thing, correct? So Brahman is one more thing to know. And in many theologies also Brahman or God is also another being, another thing to be known, and that God is sitting somewhere else also, correct? So this kind of a theology is also there. But here you can see in between in this section the Upanishad said that the same Brahman it started talking about as Purushaha. So it changed the gender to masculine, and from that what we know is it is nothing but your self. Again here in this whole section one important thing we can understand. What is that? The teaching methodology. So we have a certain methodology of teaching, because this whole Brahman is nothing but you, correct? The subject matter is actually subtle, because whatever knowledge we have gained till now are all objective things. Okay, you objectify something in your mind and you know it. But here Brahman is not one more object, understand that. And don't try to objectify also. In fact, even though I say this, it is not very easy. So Brahman is something to be purely understood as yourself, and you cannot objectify yourself because you are the very subject. The subject cannot objectify itself. That's why the eye cannot see itself. The tip of your finger cannot touch itself, because it is the subject. The subject has to be known as it is. And even your attempt to objectify it, you have to give up at some point in time. Then only you will understand this correctly. So what the Shruti is trying to say is, all that is here is from that Brahman. When it says that, that is what we call in the tradition as Adhyaropa. Okay, from this Brahman only all these things came, like that it says, correct? Right, starting from Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Prithvi, all these Bhutas, Mahabhuta, Pancha Mahabhutani, they all came from this Brahman. Then it gave a huge list, right up to your own Indriya Golakas and the awareness which goes through these Indriyas and knows a particular object. So the objects are also this Brahman alone. The Indriyas are also Brahman. The knowing awareness also is Brahman. So that's what was told in this Sapta Pranaha Prabhavanti Tasmat Sapta Archishaha Samidas Sapta Homaha, like this in that verse. In fact, the same thing is also the same imagery, similar imagery is used by Shankaracharya in the Dakshinamurti Stotra. So there is a sloka there called Nana Chidra Ghatodharastita Mahadeepa Prabhabhaswaram Jnanam Yasya Tu Chakshuradi Karanadvara Bahispandate, like that. So there is like a pot. Within the pot you have a Mahadeepaha, a flame, okay, a light. So lighted Deepa is there, and you have holes. The holes are like the Indriya, and the light which is coming through the hole is like the awareness which we have, sentiency. And whatever it reveals are all the objects, Indriya, whatever you know through the Indriyas, correct? The objects of your Indriya, Indriya Gamyam. So, like this imagery is used by Shankaracharya also, that is there in the Upanishad. So Shankaracharya also would have picked it up from the Upanishad only. So from this, all these verses are all doing what is known as Adhyaropa. Adhyaropa means deliberate superimposition. So the deliberate superimposition has to be done. Then only we can explain everything properly. That is part of the teaching methodology. So when we say everything came from this Brahman, okay, we are actually doing what is known as Adhyaropa. Then finally what the Shruti says in the last verse, Purusha eva idam vishwam. Everything, whatever is there here is Purusha only, correct? So that Aksharam Brahma from which everything came, all those things are nothing but this Purusha alone. Purushaha eva idam vishwam. Karma tapo brahma paramritam. So that's a big list, but the idea is that, what is the idea? Whatever is there here, or whatever you know as this, correct? Anything which you can know as this is nothing but this Purusha. when it says this part is called apavada. Okay. Why? Because this is what I have already told you also. This is what is called badhayam samanadhikaranyam. Okay. So what do we mean by badhayam samanadhikaranyam? So normally when we say rose is red, that is called samanadhikaranyam, because in a particular substantive, in a particular object, we see both the roseness and the redness, let us say. So both of them are inhering in the same substantive, we can say. That is called samanadhikaranyam. Okay. But when you say the snake is rope, or when we say the elephant is stone, in such situations, okay, actually what is happening is we are actually negating the snakeness or the elephantness, correct? So if you see a snake on the rope, first what I am saying, the snake has come from the rope, means that is adhyaropa. Then I say snake is rope, snake is only rope, means because purusha eva, snake is only rope, correct? Idam sarvam purusha eva, all that is here is purusha only. The snake is rope only, the elephant is stone only. When I say that, actually what is happening, both snakeness and ropeness are not there in the same substantive, understand that. In fact, I am negating the snakeness, I am negating the elephantness, and I am only revealing to you that the reality is stone, the reality is rope. Similarly here, the reality is what? Purusha alone is Satyam. Everything else is Mithya. Whatever you know as Idam, being a product, being the result of this Brahman, correct? They are all Mithya. So Mithya in itself is not a particular object or anything, understand that. Mithya is actually a term which is explaining to you the reality of a particular thing. So if I have to use a fancy terminology, it is called ontological term. In modern philosophy, they call ontology, means the study of reality is called ontology. So Mithya is an ontological term, or a term which signifies what is the reality of a particular object. So here when we say all that is here, whatever we see as here, they are all an effect of Brahman alone, and they are all being an effect. Whatever I see as this, all of them are effects, and so they are all Mithya. So anything you can objectify is Mithya, understand that. It really doesn't count, and that is what is called apavada. So this particular sentence or statement here, Purusha eva idam vishwam karma tapo brahma paramritam, is the apavada. So in this one section you can see the traditional teaching methodology, which is that the adhyaropa was done in the beginning, where it started, correct? I can even go back and show you. So yatha sudiptat pavakat vispulingaha sahasrashaha prabhavante sarupaha tatha aksharat vividaha somya bhavaha, like this. So from this akshara all the beings have come, and even there immediately you can say in the second verse itself, from the aksharat. So initially it said aksharam, now it is saying purushaha, divyaha hi amurtaha purushaha sabahya abhyantaraha hi ajaha, like that. Etasmat jayate pranaha manaha sarvendriyani. So everything is born. So all these things are all adhyaropa. When it says etasmat jayate pranaha manaha sarvendriyani cha, the Shruti is doing adhyaropa just to show you that all these things have come from this Vastu, this Brahman, which is the Purusha, which is a Chetana Purusha, which is nothing but you, your own self. And that is the cause of everything. Means what? Then everything else is mithya only. So finally it is doing apavada here. Purusha eva idam vishwam means whatever is there here, Purusha alone is Satyam. All other things do not really count. And if you know this Purusha, then you have known as well everything else, because everything else really doesn't count. It's not in the same reality. So the original question of the student also is answered. Kasminnu bhagavo vijñāte sarvamidam vijñātam bhavati iti. That is the question. So knowing that which everything else is as well known, I want to know that. That is the question. And that is nothing but yourself. Everything else being mithya, and yourself alone is Brahman, from which all these things have come. Okay. So that is what here we have to understand. So traditionally the teaching methodology is talked about as adhyaropa apavadabhyam nishprapancham prapanchate. That is how they talk about it. So using adhyaropa and apavada, nishprapancham means that which is not easily explainable, it's not easy to teach. But using that only, that methodology alone we can teach you. So first we say everything came from this Brahman. That is adhyaropa. In all Upanishads also it is done. Okay. So different Upanishads talk about the Srishti Prakriya even in a slightly different manner also. So even that is said because the Tatparya is not to show the Srishti Prakriya itself. Understand that. The Srishti Prakriya is talked about only to later on do this apavada. So Srishti itself is talked about just to show that everything has come from this Brahman. And since Brahman is the cause of everything, whatever you know as this, all that is there here are all mithya, because they are only an effect. They are only vacharambanam, vikaro namadeyam. So like this in Chandogya Upanishad it says everything is only name and form, vikaraha. Vikaraha namadeyam. Okay, so it's all name and form only, whatever is there here. The actual reality is not separate from you. And so when you are going to be talked about, how can I reveal you? Shruti is not revealing my existence, understand that. I am already existent, that's why I am even using a pramana. So no pramana can reveal my existence, because I am self-existent and self-revealing. So Shruti then does apavada. First it says all that is here, whatever we see, whatever we can objectify, all of this has come only from this Brahman. And then what is this Brahman? Then it says neti neti, not this, not this, not this. Anything we can objectify is not this Brahman. So nedam yedidam upasate. Even in Kenopanishad it is beautifully said. So whatever you can think of, it is not Brahman, apavada. Then what is left then? Whatever you can think of as this is not Brahman, means only thing which is left is yourself, correct? So you are the cause of everything. You here means not your body or mind or intellect and all that, or just don't think that you are expanding all over in the space and all that. That is also not correct. It is purely to be understood. It's a matter of understanding. It is not a matter for visualization or even doing some kind of a dhyana, that I am everything, means you start visualizing yourself expanding all over in the space, or even we say sarva bhutatma and all that, correct? Jnani means you are the self of everything, because everything is because of you, because the isness itself is from you, from the self. Again, that doesn't mean that you suddenly go, you will be able to know everybody whatever they are thinking and all that. That's not the idea. Understand that. So again, that sarva bhutatma also is something to be understood, purely to understand that I am the self of everything. Okay. So that is a thing to be understood. Again, that cannot be experienced. That's what I am trying to tell you, because some of these subtle things can derail your understanding. Okay, so here I am everything is a matter for understanding. It is not something to be experienced. In fact, you are everything in the dream world, correct? But while dreaming, you are not experiencing yourself as everything in the dream world. But later on, we can understand that I was everything in the dream world, right? The dream world is nothing but the entire space-time was in your mind alone. It is your own consciousness which projected the entire dream world. Similarly, here also there is no difference really. So whatever is there here is Advaitam, Brahma, Satyam, and that is me. So even Gaudapada Acharya beautifully says, Anadi Mayaya Suktaha Yada Jiva Prabudhyate Ajam Anidram Aswapnam Advaitam Buddhyate Tada. So we are all sleeping as though in beginningless Maya. Maya here is the ignorance only. Because ignorance, you cannot say that you are ignorant from this time or that time. If I ask you, do you know Chinese? What will you say? I don't know Chinese. Maybe most of you do not know Chinese anyway. Then when did this Chinese ignorance start? It did not start at any point in time or anything, correct? It is Anadi only. Like that, even my own self, I am not fully aware of about myself. I don't know properly. And that ignorance has been there. There is no time or anything from which you were ignorant. It is there beginningless. But it can end. Yada jivaha prabudhyate. When the jiva gains this knowledge. And what is the knowledge? Ajam. I am the one who was never born. Anidram. Or even Ajam here you can take it as I am neither the waker, nor the sleeper, nor the dreamer. Ajam Anidram Aswapnam. So the entire waking world, dream world, whatever, even in sleep, the causal, everything is negated. Apavada. Ajam Anidram Aswapnam. Advaitam. So I am Nirvikalpaha. Myself, I am non-dual. That is the knowledge. Aham Nirvikalpaha. Because all knowledge resolves in yourself only. You are the unchanging awareness in every cognition. The things which are cognized can come and go. But whatever is there invariably present in every cognition is myself as the subject, and that is me. and I am Satyam. I am the reality. I am the one who is giving existence to everything which is being cognized as this. They do not exist independently. I have to reveal, and I am giving the existence also. I am self-existent and self-revealing. Whatever is known by me as this is not self-existent and not self-revealing also. It has to be revealed by my consciousness alone, and my consciousness alone is giving existence also to all these objects, and they are all mithya. And since they are all mithya, even the status of being a subject also is mithya. Understand that. In reality, aham advaitam, it says. Ajam anidram aswapnam advaitam buddhyate tada. So you know yourself, there is nothing, there is no second thing. And you are as you are. You cannot say anything more than that. Is that clear? You are that which is Sachidananda, we have to say, correct? So aham asmi tada bhami kadachin naham apriyaha brahmaiva aham atas siddham Sachidananda lakshanam. So this is from a beautiful work called Advaita Makaranda, one of my favorite texts. So the first verse itself is so beautiful and so precise and concise. You don't even need to know anything else. To understand Advaita, this one single verse is good enough. Aham asmi, I am. Sada bhami, I am always enlightening something, correct? I am revealing. I am the one who reveals everything. Aham swaprakashaha, everything else only shines after me. So aham asmi sada bhami, my consciousness never goes away, my awareness never goes away. Understand that. In fact, this Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says this drashtuhu drishtehe viparilopaha nasti, like that. So your awareness never leaves you, even though you are saying you slept, but there is a awareness there, and you can get up and say, I was not aware of anything during my sleep. I slept well, I slept soundly. All these things are there. The mind alone folds, correct? When you go into sleep, the mind is the one which sleeps. But I, as a consciousness, I am always aware. It doesn't have like an eyelash or anything or eyelid to close. Consciousness is always awake, Nitya Sakshi. And that conscious being is neither the waker, nor the dreamer, nor the sleeper. That is why it is called the fourth also. Fourth means here it is the only thing really. Because the waker, dreamer and sleeper are also mithya only. Understand that. The individuality itself is mithya. I am an individual itself is a wrong conclusion. All your problems are starting right from there. You wake up in the morning and think you are an individual, you are a subject, you have an objective world out there which is so big and all that, and then all the problems are there. Because as a jiva, you are alpaha, and all the problems are there. The world is so vast, so big, it is out to get you. But you are not this puny jiva. That is the vision of Vedanta. You are the limitless consciousness which is giving the very existence and which is revealing whatever is there here in this entire universe. Everything has come from you only, and they are all mithya. Whatever is there here, whatever can be known as this, everything is mithya, and you are alone the Satya Vastu. You are the invariable in every cognition, and every cognition resolves into yourself, and that is what we have to understand. In fact, in you, both the experiencer and the experienced resolves. So you are the experienced, you are the experiencer, you are the experience also. So, in fact, this is said Ahamannam in Taittiriya Upanishad also. In the end, there is a Samagana is there. Ahamannam, 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 Ahamannado, like that. So Ahamannam, I am Annam, I am the food, I am the eater also. Annadaha. So like this, that is the vision. That's purely to be understood. Understand? You don't have to say that you look at the idli and feel that idli is myself and all that. Not like that. It's something to be understood. That I am the invariable. I am Satyam. Everything else is Mithya. It's all only superimposed. And it can be negated. But the Shruti first does this superimposition deliberately. That is what is called Adhyaropaha. As part of a teaching methodology, the Adhyaropa is done deliberately and then the Apavada is done finally. So that's what we see here. And so the one who knows this, Etad yo veda nihitam guhayam. So where do I know this? This knowledge also takes place only in your intellect. Because there is the new problem or whatever, there is a Neo Vedanta problem is what they say, that this is beyond mind, beyond intellect and all that. So beyond intellect means how do I know that? So you go into some white heat of meditation and somehow intuitively you will know it. So this word intuition is a very misused word. If you see intuition anywhere, please don't take it very seriously. So there is nothing to intuit or anything. Shruti is very clear. You know in your own buddhi guha. Manasa eva anudrashtavyam. This is also Shruti. But what kind of mind? Also we have to know. That mind has to be Samskritam manaha. Samskritam means what here? All the values. You have to have a certain disposition of the mind. As an individual also you have to be free from raga dvesha and you should have a certain ability to focus and concentrate. So all these things are important, and you should also have more than anything else, you have to have the dispassion, vairagya. One important thing is this vairagya. Even this Mundaka Upanishad also what it says, the whole thing starts, understand, by saying the student has to be one who has done parikshya lokan karmachitan nasti akritaha kritena. So one who has done the pariksha, one who has examined one's own experiences, one who has also done some thought experiments with reference to where you can go hereafter also. You have examined here whatever you can attain here and whatever you can attain hereafter in different lokas. All that you have to examine. And what is the result of that examination? The result of that examination is you have to clearly understand nasti akritaha kritena. What I really want is something which cannot be produced by karma. Because what I want really is the limitless. The limitless cannot be produced by karma. None of the actions which I can do here, however exalted, good it may be, it's not going to give me what I really want, which is the limitless. Then what do? Tad vijnanartham gurumeva abhigachet. So to know that, you have to go to a guru. So that means here the pariksha, whatever pariksha, the examination you do has to result in nirvedam. It says pariksha lokan karmachitan nasti akritaha, the brahmanaha nirvedamayat, then nasti akritaha kritena. So brahmanaha here is the one who wants to know this Brahman, one who wants to know the limitless, one who wants the limitless has to understand that you cannot get what you want by doing karma, by achieving anything in this world. You are not going to get that. So you should have a certain dispassion. Iha mutra phala bhoga viragaha is the result. You have to do the pariksha. The result of the pariksha, or the result of the examination or analysis is what you should have a certain dispassion. But even though you have this dispassion, but this has to be also repeated. See, any insight, when I am talking to you, many things will be very clear. Let me tell you. It was the same thing for me also. When my guru was teaching me, things are very clear. Because our teaching is very clear. Understand that clarity doesn't mean that it is simple or it is simplistic. Whatever we are teaching, there is a clarity in that. And if I am teaching you with a certain clarity, when you hear that also, you will know, you will also feel that it is very easy, clear and all that. Because you get the same insight. But again, what happens after the class, the insight, it may not sustain. So initially an insight has to be repeated. Insight has to be repeated. Remember that. Then only it will become something which is assimilated. The insight has to be assimilated enough so that it changes the way you fundamentally think about yourself and what you really want. All these things have to be transformed. It has to become a transformative tool. The insight has to transform you. It has to transform the way you look at yourself, you look at your own success, what is success in your life, what do you really want. All these things have to change. It has to transform. Because that insight is important and it has to be repeated. If you don't do that, you again fall back into your whatever habitual thinking patterns, I would say. Because from our birth onwards, we have been thinking in a particular way. And that is very strong, correct? Habit is something very strong. Nowadays, you get all this in WhatsApp also, they say. Habit means you remove H also, a bit is there. You remove B also, or A also, bit is there. You remove B, it is there, like that and all, they send a message, correct? Which has a certain truth, I think. So this habitual tendencies, we have to overcome. And how do we overcome? By repeating the insight. That is what we call jhana, nididhyasana and all that. Of course, so for a mumukshu, this dhyana has to also involve repeating your insights so that you gain a certain dispassion. The most important qualification for you is vairagya. Let me tell you that. And it may also require some effort. Understand that, because we have a certain, we are wired in a certain manner, correct? Biologically, physiologically and psychologically, there is a certain wiring or programming, I would say, already is there. To overcome that, it requires a certain effort. That effort you have to put. And if you have done all that sadhana, then you are ready. Your mind is Samskritam Manaha. Your mind is ready now. It has the required qualification, sadhana chatushtaya. And such a mind, then what? The guru has to only tell Purusha eva idam vishwam. Good enough. You are all that is here. And that is the knowledge. And when you have this knowledge, what happens? Saha avidya granthim vikarati. So avidya is like a knot. Understand that. In fact, those who have upavita will understand that, correct? Even so, whenever we try to take one upavita, out of 2 or 3 will be there normally in a in a bundle, let us say, and invariably it will go into a certain knot, and it's not very easy to then resolve it. But how do we resolve it? See, even there is an interesting thing. So how do we resolve? Then you go to what is called Brahma Granthi. So in the Upavita, there is again all the three threads are tied together at a point. That is called Brahma Granthi. So you have to go to that that tied portion, and from there you can actually resolve the whatever mess is there, correct? Easily. So like that, how do we resolve this avidya? It is also anadi also, correct? It is there, it is very powerful. Mama maya duratyaya, Bhagavan says, my maya is not easily crossable. It's not easy to get over. Mama maya duratyaya, ascharyavat pashyati kasyidenam also he says. Only a few people see it. And even he says, Shrutvapyenam Vedana Chaiva Kasyita and all. Even if you hear this Vedanta, not everybody understands it properly. Only a few people understand. Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. Also, Bhagavan Krishna says, after many Janmas, this Jnani reaches me or understands me, correct? So it is a difficult thing, no doubt, but it is not impossible. The difficulty is pointed out only to say that you have to put in effort, the sadhana, to achieve the sadhana chatushtaya. Understand that. It is not to discourage you, or also see another wrong thinking or notion is that to just think that the others are all big saints. Ramana is a big saint, Kanchi Periyava is a big saint and all that. Hey, if they are big saint also, then you also have to become that. See, that is the goal. And if he can become a saint, you can also become a saint. It's not a big deal. Understand that if one person can do it, everybody can do it. So don't put somebody in a pedestal and then think that you cannot become like that. So I am only an alpha. Of course, Vinaya is important when you are doing Vyavahara. Understand that. Because in Vyavahara, nobody is Sarvavit. When you are dealing with the world, the worldly knowledge nobody can gain completely. Only Ishvara has that. So as an individual, I am restricted by whatever upadhi I have. And you have to have a certain Vinaya, humility, which is good. But that doesn't mean that this humility should not become a problem, thinking that I cannot become a jnani, or jnanis are all some other kind of people and I am not fit for that. You should not have a thinking like that. All of you are learning Vedanta to become a jnani only. Understand that. You have to become a Kanchi Periyava or Ramana or whoever it is you think is a jnani. You are also capable of the same thing. Otherwise, there is no point in studying also. Understand that. So, that is a very important thing. We have to be able to own up to this knowledge. So, don't think badly about yourself or put yourself down. In fact, even in Gita, Bhagavan again beautifully says, correct? So, Atmaiva Ripur Atmanaha and all he says. See, Atma is the, here mind, your own mind is your friend, but it is also your enemy. So, if you have the right attitude, it is your friend. If you don't have the right attitude, then it becomes your own enemy. Enemy means what? If you are not able to know this, then the loss is limitless. Understand that. You have lost the infinite thing. So, iha ched avedit ata satyam asti, na ched iha vedit mahati vinashtihi. Kenopanishad. If you don't know this Brahman here, then the vinashti, the whatever the nashta, the loss for you is what? Mahati. It is limitless. You have lost, you are losing the limitless, and you can't afford that. Understand that you can afford to lose anything else, but not this. All else is only finite, limited. But if you don't understand your Atma correctly, your loss is unlimited. So don't lose that. Have the right attitude. Whatever insights you gain, you have to repeat it. Do whatever sadhana is relevant for you, works for you, and then it has to transform you. Understand that. Whatever sadhana you are doing, it has to transform you. It has to transform the way you look at yourself, you look at the world, and how you deal with the world. Everything will transform. So till then you have to keep on making this effort only, correct? So you can, some people ask, till when I should be doing Vedanta Shravanam, till when I should be doing all this different sadhana. Till you ask the question, you have to keep doing, that's all. If you know, you won't ask, understand that. Or there is really no end to all these things, you keep on doing it. It's only a question of growing clarity. Again, some people wait for some kind of an event where like you put the switch on, the bulb glows, correct? Suddenly something should happen and miraculously you are transformed. That also may not happen. Maybe for some people it happens, but in general, what is the analogy used? The analogy used by the Shastra is this jnana also is like a sunrise. So when did the sun rise? It is like a growing clarity, correct? Slowly you will see you can go in the morning tomorrow and check how the sunrise happens. So the light keeps on coming slowly. Suddenly it is good enough for you to see everything properly. That's it. It was not like switching on a lamp. It is more of a growing clarity. Same thing, you keep doing Shravanam, you keep doing whatever it takes in terms of sadhana to prepare yourself, and you have to own up this knowledge. That will happen. You don't have to be despaired or anything about that. Understand that there need not be any despair. The whole process of studying Vedanta also should be a happy one. Because Vedantins we are not saying you are a sinner or anything, correct? Even here, Shruti says, Hey Somya, Avidya Granthim Vikarati Iha Somya. See, oh dear, the student is addressed by the Guru as Somya, dear person. So, Upanishad is not calling you as a sinner or anything. It is addressing you as a pleasing person, dear pleasing. In the beginning also it started with Somya only, it is ending with Somya. So throughout you are a pleasing person. And the pursuit also is a pleasing pursuit. The whole thing has to be joyous. Because what you are learning along the way is that you are the very source of all happiness. Ananda Swarupaha. Correct? That is the teaching. So while trying to know this Ananda Swarupa, you can't say I am sad, whatever, or it is something difficult and all that. If you think Vedanta, Shravanam or going and studying in a Gurukulam is difficult, then you don't have the Pakwa, you are not mature enough. Understand that. If you think that doing Vedanta Shravanam alone is making me happy and the pursuit itself is happy, means you are in the right track. So don't also think that you have to do some big Tyaga and then come to do this Vedanta study and all that. If you think like that also, then your attitude is not correct. Doing Vedanta is the most important thing. That is the only priority. If you are able to understand that clearly and continue with whatever you are doing, That is the right attitude. You don't think that you have to do some big tyaga and then feel bad about it and all that. Nothing is bigger than this knowledge. And if you miss this knowledge, you are missing the limitless itself, the infinite. So that is the understanding you should have. And that's what Shruti is beautifully saying here. You can resolve. This ignorance may be beginningless, but it will get resolved. If you know this thing, if you know yourself as everything, as the cause of everything, and you alone are Satyam, then that is good enough. Then this avidya will be resolved. Avidya can be resolved right here. Vikarati iha. It's not that you have to die and go to some swarga to enjoy. See, even Guru here is saying what? Saha avidya granthim vikarati iha somya. Right here, here and now, you have to own up. That's it. It's a question of understanding this and owning up. Of course, you have to be ready to do whatever it takes to own up this knowledge. Is that clear? So that's all you have to do, and everything is taught to you in such a manner that it is all very clear, very easy to understand. That is the beauty here. More and more I see our sampradaya, the parampara, whatever has been taught, they have all, in fact no question is left unanswered. Within the parampara itself, the sampradaya has been enriched by every person. This Upanishad is addressing you as Somya, means dear, pleasing one, and it's not addressing you as a sinner or anything. So this whole pursuit also has to be a joyous pursuit for us, and it's a question of owning up this knowledge, and that is a process. So you have to keep doing whatever it takes over a period of time, but do that also with a certain joy. The whole pursuit has to be joyful. That is the main thing. And you keep doing. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. So this mind may be difficult to master. Our thinking patterns, habitually we have certain ways of thinking. Those things, it's not easy to overcome. So Arjuna explicitly raises this question. But Bhagavan, what does Bhagavan say? Abhyasa and Vairagya. So Abhyasa, mainly you have to have repeatedly you practice. Practice here means what? You repeat the insight. Insights have to be repeated. Whatever you learn, that insight has to be repeated till it transforms you. Also this Vairagya is important because all other things do not have any priority. This moksha alone is my priority. If you come like that, only with Vairagya, this jnana phala you will get. Otherwise it becomes a factual knowledge. It is like any other academic study. You can get a PhD also in Vedanta. That doesn't mean anything. Understand that. So we are not studying Vedanta here for getting a degree or saying that I have studied all the Upanishads. So some people even count how many Upanishads they have studied. So that's not the idea here. Understand. Even I don't come to a class thinking that I have to take so many shlokas in this class and things like that. It is more about understanding the vision. The vision, whatever the Guru is seeing, that has to be transmitted to whoever is listening, the Shishya. And that vision itself, once it is transmitted correctly, it has to have a transformative effect. It will transform you, no doubt. But still you have to take effort on your part. So that effort is an ongoing thing. And when you know, you know. So till then you have to keep doing whatever it takes to understand this Vedanta, whatever it is teaching you. So in fact, the one who joins a medical college, immediately we call that person a doctor. One who joins an engineering college, we call that person an engineer. Similarly, if all of you have joined a Vedanta class with the right attitude, with mumukshutvam, you are all already jnani only. So don't think about yourself as not a jnani. You are all jnani. Maybe the assimilation is at different levels, but that can take its own time. Don't worry about all those things. You should not look upon yourself as an ajnani also and think that is humility or anything like that. That is wrong. All of us are jnani. Those whoever has been exposed to this teaching correctly with the right attitude, all these people are jnanis. Individually, you may have different characteristics. The way you deal a particular thing in the Vyavahara may be different, but that doesn't really matter. Understand that. The teaching is you are Brahman as you are. It's not that you will become Brahman, etc. You are that. You are that Brahman, which is everything. It's only a question of owning this up. So the first thing is that you have to own up yourself as a jnani. All the other things can follow up. You can work on yourself as a person. How you react in a particular situation, etc. will also change. There will be a transformation, there is no doubt. You can also actively work towards all that. Nothing wrong. But owning up to this knowledge, having a clear understanding is very important. That is the important thing here. So this is a very beautiful section in the Upanishad where we saw this Adhyaropa and Apavada. In fact, the Dvitiya Khanda in this Mundaka we will start next week, where Upanishad again teaches this from a different angle. Okay, there is even a beautiful analogy here about there is an archery analogy is there. So we will see all that next week. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam
Om Purnamadah Purnamidam
Purnat Purnamudachyate
Purnat Purnamudachyate
Purnasya Purnamadaya
Purnasya Purnamadaya
Purnamevavashishyate
Purnamevavashishyate.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Harihi Om.
Harihi Om.